Hey everyone, thanks for joining. Of course, here with John. I want to introduce what we're going to be doing here. We're going to do a big overview for Loncor, but try and fire through a lot of the kind of overall questions. But quickly, John, how are you?
Yeah, I'm really well, and it's a pleasure to speak to you again, Jason.
Yeah, awesome. Well, here, let's fire through it. Obviously, a lot of questions about Loncor just in general. Do you want to give me the quick overview for the company, and then we'll fire through some exact questions?
Yeah, look, if I'm looking to try and highlight immediately what differentiates us, certainly the size of company, we're an 80 million US dollar company. So we're a small exploration company. But if you look at the top line, 4.6 million ounces of resources in situ. To put that into perspective, if you look at the current gold price, it's around $8 billion of gold sitting in the ground. You still got to get it out, but it's a great starting point for us. And there's one project that stands out, and that's a Dumby. It's 3.2 million ounces of resources. It's around $6 billion in situ, and we've got 85% of that. So, and it's grown really rapidly, really during the time of COVID in many ways. So, caught many observers and I think analysts off guard. And many analysts haven't seen the project, haven't been to many of the Zoom conferences that we've been talking at, and been almost unreachable during COVID. But slowly, we're getting traction as our shareholders prod their brokers, and they start looking at us. But and I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. We're going to keep growing ounces both at a Dumby and at other areas. But I think the other thing, so we've got plenty of dollars in the ground. But the really cool thing about this project is the grade. And the grade translates straight into revenue per ton, top line revenue per ton. We're about double of our peer group. And, that's really what makes us outstanding. And, we've got a chart that highlights. If you look at the chart, there's a bubble on there, and it really shows us an outlier. The bubble is the size of our resources. Then on the left-hand side, you've got the grade, the revenue per ton, and we're one of the highest on the chart. And then on the bottom axis, you've got how much you're paying for every one of those really high-quality ounces. And we're right at the bottom of the scale there. So, that's a key thing. But I really struggle in some ways in the past to get people to realize what we have. And if I carry on with that, we've got $6 billion in the ground. If you assume, because of the quality of our project, around 50% operating margins, that gives you around $3 billion value at 50% operating margins. Then you can assume some geological, metallurgical losses, let's say 20% to keep it conservative, takes you around $2.5 billion. Capital expenditure to build the project, that's maybe another $500 million. And we're not sure yet. We'll get to find that out soon, but that takes you around about $2 billion. Yes, it's not going to be mine for 4 years. You've got to put a discount, etc. But $2 billion, we've got 85%, and our market cap is $80 million. So hopefully we find many more ounces and from other projects, but hopefully we'll unlock a lot of value at a Dumby over the next, and you'll see that over the next few months as we complete a scoping study on a Dumby. So yeah, that's the overview of the company.
Yeah, no, awesome. And we'll do kind of very quick things to come. But I want to ask very quickly here, get a lot of questions about the DRC. Do you want to kind of talk about that and maybe some other, mining companies in the region and how the region's doing?
Yeah, I think there's three things I'd highlight. The DRC is becoming a real focus for the big mining companies. Already there's a number in there, a number of Chinese companies with great projects, Ivanhoe Mining, they're now a $12 billion company with copper that they've got, Glencore, etc. Because they realize the potential of there. And I think the most recent company to put its head up and say we're looking is BHP. So it's one after another over the last few years are really getting involved because of the quality of the projects that's available there. And I think the second thing that I'd like to point to is a confidence that only 130 miles away from us, from a Dumby, Barrick manages the Kibali gold mine. And that's not just any mine. It's Africa's largest gold mine. You might think that South Africa's got the largest producer, but no, it sits 130 miles away from us. And it's mined successfully since 2013. And so they've proved what can be achieved. And the very neat thing for us is we can point to what they've achieved. It's got similar grades to us in the pit and underground. Well, it looks like similar underground too as it develops. And then I think the final thing is that we have an ongoing scoping study, or PEA, as we call it, being conducted. And that's going to put tangible figures to our Dumby open pit. And the release of the valuation of it is only 2 months away. And you heard the big figures I was talking about earlier on. So within 2 months, there's going to be a headline figure out there saying, this is what we believe a Dumby is worth based on a detailed assessment. And I think it's going to be a fairly dramatic valuation. And it's only going to increase, I think, the likely interest from the press, from the investors and the corporates alike, with many parties awaiting, the increased certainty that the PEA brings. So, with the combination of those three things, the underlying project plus what is actually physically happening on the ground gives us confidence we can make it happen there in the DRC.
Yeah, no, awesome. And then the one thing kind of we haven't touched on is the management team. Obviously, we've talked about you and your background, but do you want to give a very quick overview for some of the other management figures?
Yeah, well, Arnie Kondrat, the executive chairman, he was CEO before I was. He holds around 22% of the shares, and he really put this portfolio together. And he's operated in the DRC for almost 3 decades, so invaluable in-country experience. And I think the other key person is Peter Cowley, our president. He's held top geological posts in multinational gold miners, such as AngloGold Ashanti. And he's found over 30 million ounces now of resources in geological terrain that's very, very similar to what we're operating on. So the combination of those two, and then obviously layering my experience as an analyst and M&A, et cetera, we feel it's a very tight, small team, as long as as well as the people on the ground and a few people in the office, but we're really making things happen and very confident about things moving forward.
Yeah. Oh, awesome. Well, anything else about Loncor you want to get in this video?
Well, I think really I just want to keep pushing people to that time frame. 2 months, second week of December, scoping study. It swamps the significance of many of our other initiatives in pure valuation terms, we believe, at this stage. However, we believe we can push the ounces, the high-grade ounces at a Dumby towards, we've got an internal target around 5 million ounces over the next 6 months. We're reassessing what's in the pit currently, and then some holes at depth we believe will add significant ounces. So that's then really putting it into tier one category. Tier one category, high grade. Again, this is turning into an outstanding deposit. So looking into 2022, I think Adumbi should stir up the interest, but we do believe we've got excitement both at Adumbi, and then later in the year, we'll be looking at other areas where we already have some resources and haven't done any drilling for a number of years. So there's a number of areas I think of interest to come through.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, look, I appreciate you doing this video. I want to invite anyone with questions about Loncor, please drop it below. We'll make sure we do a little Q&A video coming up. But John, thanks so much for joining.
It's a pleasure, Jason. Thanks.